All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Within the Sim. I need to turn on the headset so we can hear everybody in the chat here. What's up, Robbie? What's up, Roger? We're live. Oh man, what a crazy week! I think we all drove a little bit of everything this week. It was definitely a wild one. We got a lot of notes through it, but where were we? What was the
We
first?
can
Oh,
start
eight,
right with
eight.
that pro. We can start with that pro series race since it just happened. That
Yeah,
was
the,
pretty wild.
that pro dirt race, man. It started off pretty mild. Heat race number one. Caudell gets turned around, but Keeper wins from the pole, and that was the tone from the first three heat races. Was the pole sitter of each heat race was winning. It had a lot to do with that tacky track. It didn't produce a lot
Hmm
of passing early on, but Keepers win in the first one. Cardwell and Majulis round out second and third. Majulis definitely wasn't happy with heat race number one, as we heard in his interview. Is I guess Cardwell gave him a little bit of a door for that
Yeah,
second
that
position, but Kiefer,
that
your
was a pretty
teammate,
greasy move. Yeah, I
what?
was super proud of Keith for winning Heat One.
Yeah,
Understand Blake's frustration. I watched that and just shook my head. No need to race like that.
yeah, definitely, definitely, almost seemed like a desperation move. But hey, that's four positions. Do you think that's a lot of the reason why he made that move? Is knowing that he was starting quite a bit further forward?
Yeah, but I don't think he had the position to make that move.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a dirty move, and he just sets the tone for how he's going to get raced for the rest of the series. So I expect Blake to pay that back.
For sure. Well, heat race number two, Alex Bergeron, he gets turned around, um, ends up getting pushed. Then Hopkins get in the middle of three wide. Heat two, it started to heat up a little bit. Those guys are running two, three wide. Bergeron gets turned around early. Hopkins late gets turned. He was just stuck in the middle of three wide, nowhere to go. MC dominates from the pole, takes the win, but JD Brown and Sieber comes in from way back to finish third in that one.
Yeah, it was a good race. I don't know how I don't know. It was okay.
And then you got Tucker, Yeager, Wilson in heat race number three. Again, Tucker starts on the pole, pretty easy. Yeager, not a surprise, but he tried to put on a run there in second, but wasn't able to do much. Norwood had a good run early in the heat, makes his way up towards the front. You know, I talk about Norwood a lot. He's a lot of fun to watch. He's a nice guy. But he ends up struggling late in his heat race and loses a couple spots, which knocks him out of that top four. So he's got to run an LCQ. But that was a
Yeah, and
pretty,
that ended up biting him too.
yeah, it definitely did. Because he got turned around in his, I believe, heat race number
Hmm
four. What else? Starts shotgun on the field. I don't know. They qualified. It wasn't an uphill pull, right?
Yeah, no, they qualified.
So he struggled a little bit in qualifying. Um, Eden
I think
spent,
McSwain and Waddell were the only two that did not put a time in. I think they hit the wall in qualifying.
yeah, it's real easy to do there. Um, Eden spins early. Waddell, he gets a couple right rears. It was a tough one back there in the back of the pack for those guys trying to move forward. Rumsey wins. He's the only one that won a heat race not starting on the pole. Um, he started second. Kaysen finished second. Barbera in third. Barbera kind of came out of nowhere, taking that third place. So he number four definitely produced some passing, but it was definitely starting to get a little slippery there at Heat 4. You could tell that the track was getting a little more slick, and
Hmm
those guys were fighting a lot harder for those positions.
Yeah, I think you saw the speed go from the bottom to the top at the start of Heat 4, or really at the end of Heat 3, but in Heat 4 it really showed when Rumsey was able to take it on the top there off the start. Thought he
So
was
that,
going to get a jump start. It was close.
yeah, it was definitely wild. So LCQ number one had a ton of drama. McGuire starts on the pole with a ton of connection issues. Selby, I didn't know if he was going to get a black flag or what. He crossed the line from McGuire, but McGuire had disappeared all the way through three and four on the start there. So serious connection issues definitely could have created some issues in the server there. But
Hmm
Selby gets out front and pretty dominating win, but Barry tries to steal it away from him late in that Reiko number three. Started ninth and almost took the win away from Selby late. Photo
Yeah,
finish.
he charged. That was a heck of a run from Bishop coming from
An
the back there.
another one that's always, fun to have around. He usually runs really clean and definitely put on a show. It was not an easy track to pass at. So to come from ninth up through the field to almost win that LCQ, that had to feel good for Barry there. And I think he got ended up with a
Hmm.
decent finish considering he started at the back of the pack there in the feature.
Yeah, I want to say he was like sixth or seventh, something very well
Yeah.
considering he snuck in from the LCQ. Or not snuck in, he earned it. He definitely earned it.
LCQ number two, Nathan gets a pretty good start, but Waddell ends up getting wrecked. Alex was just ultra aggressive. I mean, he was all over the back bumper. I think that's what caused a lot of that stack up there early on was Bergeron really trying to force the issue.
Yeah, Nathan just got run over by Bergeron, and he almost killed a bunch of people in that race. He was on the struggle bus. I don't know. I think someone like him has expectations and how he's going to perform, and I don't think that his skill level is quite up to what the competition's at anymore.
Yeah, I
So I
think
think he just drove over his head.
yeah things have definitely changed quite a bit on where iRacing used to be and where it is now.
Hmm.
McSwain wins that one. Augie in second. Good run for Augie to come up and finish second. Um, but man, big names to miss like Alex and Waddell. I mean that's a big surprise there. Those guys are usually
Yeah,
people you expect up front.
James Edens didn't make it either, which was a
Yeah.
big surprise as well.
Yeah, so definitely a big surprise there to see some of the guys that did not make the feature. It's going to be a tough one, but I'll tell you what, more big guys will miss the feature later in the season. Those guys
Hmm.
can't keep themselves down because it's just one race.
Hmm.
So we go into the feature. Keeper just dominating that pole position, gets it in qualifying, starts pole on his heat, and starts pole in the feature. They do the one thing we all hate in iRacing, and that's a track reset. The racing
Yeah, I don't
was
know why they
just
did that.
starting to get good. Really clean race early on. McSwain comes up 9 spots to ninth, halfway through it after winning his LCQ, but kind of stalls out there for the rest of the race. He ends up 18th to ninth and stays in ninth the rest of the race. But we get a caution flag around lap 26. Kaysen gets in the back of St. Clair, stacks up the field, ends up taking out Sieber. So big wreck there on lap 26, and really, really Sieber was just a victim.
Hmm.
Caution number two, um, that happened later on in the race. That happened with about 6 laps to go.
Yeah, a
Tra-
little
tra-
chain reaction there, a little racing incident.
yeah, I got Travis was the pinball. Travis St. Clair, he kind of pushed up into the 10. The 10 came down a little bit. That kind of is what created that stack up. But St. Clair just trying to catch the car ends up being a pinball and gets turned around in the end.
Hmm.
That last restart, Cardwell right on after taking second away from Kiefer, which was a great battle between Cardwell and Kiefer. Um,
Hmm.
Cardwell goes and pulls a slide job and absolutely parks it on the nose of Evan C. I don't know how they didn't wreck because Evan C had his nose about up underneath those back tires of Cardwell. Somehow they all keep it. I thought, man, keeper's in the catbird seat, but somehow they save it. C takes it and they dish out some slide jobs back and forth. Um, Keeper kind of sits there just waiting like something might happen because it was pretty close. They were sliding each other, parking on each other's nose. Keeper makes a mistake late, but so does Evan C. So Evan makes the slide job in turn number 1 and 2, catches the wall out of 2, and Cardwell able to capitalize on it on the last lap, pulls off the last lap pass, and takes the victory by about a half a car length at the line. What a race that was those last 6 laps.
Yeah, that was an absolutely crazy finish, crazy last lap pass. I was in the same boat you were. I was shocked that Cardwell didn't get spun off Say's nose. It looked like his rear tires were up up his nose quite a bit. But
Yeah,
surprised they hung on to it, and surprised they didn't turn him. He did park it on him real bad, but you got to expect that something like Fairbury, especially when you're racing for the win in something like the World Championship.
yeah, that was definitely a wild one. I mean, they were kind of doing what they had to do at that point. You're inside six to go. I mean, you're making the moves that you can make to try and win this thing, and it almost cost them. But that was staying on top of that wheel. I would have loved to have seen his in car at that point with those back tires lifted up because he had to be wheeling that thing. So
Yeah,
we get Cardwell, C, and Majulis 1, 2, 3. Not really a surprise up there in the top three. I mean, Kiefer I thought was going to stay up there, but like you said, he made a little bit of a mistake late there and just couldn't recover from it. Not enough time.
yeah, he was very committed to the bottom. He set that car up to run down there, and said from the beginning that no matter what, he's not going to go to the top. And well, I think unfortunately that it didn't work out for him there at the end. Maybe if it stayed green through the end and we didn't get that last caution, he would have had third. Would have been close, but it was a good battle. I don't know. It was a good race though. Very proud of him running fourth.
I'll tell you what. Cardwell, uh, Cardwell had to run a hard race to get up there. He gave a lot of props to Kiefer late. I know he's your teammate and all. And man, he gave a lot of props to the way Keeper raced him. But Keeper, you got to. I made it makes sense in what Keeper did there. I mean, I know it didn't work out, but he knew everybody was going to be looking for the top. What's the best way to pass? Be where nobody else is.
Hmm.
He tried something a little different and didn't work out. But man, you're not gonna win this championship doing what everybody else does. It's just not gonna
Yeah,
happen. There's way too much skill.
and hey, a top five finish is a top five finish. I'm sure he would have liked to get third or second, but at the end of the day, he finished the race still, so that's what matters. Sometimes it's not worth fighting it.
For sure, for sure. But a lot of people expected a lot of toxic. I know Majulis wasn't happy. I mean, these guys run together all the time. I'm sure they'll talk. They'll get over it. Um, so overall, pretty clean race considering what we expected from the dirt side.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there was some rocky moments. It definitely had us worried. But yeah, hopefully they can continue to put on a good show and continue to behave so the series can continue.
Right. So big blocks at Port Royal. So we'll just scroll right into dirt now that the Pro Series we've gone through the Pro Series. But big blocks at Port Royal. You ran some races. You had a lot of good luck. I know we talked about it last week that your teammate dominated, but you ran quite a few races at Port Royal.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun at Port Royal. I think it actually put on better officials than a lot of people were expecting. Obviously, if you hate wall tapping, then you have a different opinion than I do. But yeah, I thought the racing was a lot of fun. Had a nice 4100 soft win. Conrad dominated the opener, so it was a good week for us.
Yeah, funny. I never even made it into one big block race. Um, I didn't want to. I didn't want to get caught up, and I felt like I was going to get caught up because it wasn't where I needed to be at Port Royal. Um, I, I had a lot of bad luck in hosted races when they ran them, so I figured I need some more time there,
Hmm.
and I was going to waive that one. I struggle at those big tracks, and Port Royal would be classified, I think, as a big track on iRacing for dirt.
Absolutely, no
Uh,
question.
and it's so topside. I just those tracks where it feels like it needs to be well, technically you could just about go wide open at Port Royal, and I just seem to struggle. I guess Williams Grove is about the only track that would be considered a big track that I don't typically struggle at, but a little bit more finesse there.
Yeah,
So
you got to be real good at running the wall.
speaking of Port Royal, we got Mr. Quiet here. I think Roger's just in listening mode.
I mean, I watched the feature with you. Still learning a lot about dirt. You and I were talking during it, like talking about just different things. I mean, I think the big thing I brought up to you is just the throttle input. How little throttle they're actually in it. Like that kind of just shocked me a little bit.
And
So
we
Hmm.
had some conversations this week. You ran a few races at Lanier. which we learned isn't your favorite track. But
No.
we were talking about that throttle control with the modifieds there, and I was trying to explain to you because you had Wheeler who's just throwing the car into the turns, which is not the way you drive the modifieds. Uh, but I talked to you about letting off easy into the turn, let the car rotate, use less wheel because you've been running a lot of late models. Use less wheel, use more of the throttle to help the car rotate, and drive out of the turn when you're straight. And it seemed to help you a little bit there at Lanier.
Yeah, I mean,
You still got caught up by idiots, but
yeah. Once I got caught up by the idiots. I mean, yeah. Well, that was my. I think I raced there a couple times, and the second time was a lot better. Even with damage, I started to learn it. Um, I don't know. I think I like the wide open thing. Like the I just like I don't know. It's just
I
it's a little
think that
different.
I think that's a big thing with dirt, though. I mean, when I first started running dirt, obviously the bigger tracks, because the throttle control is different and a little more forgiving. Um, the bigger tracks actually played to my advantage then, but then I learned how to drive the short tracks. Like Robbie helped. My big turning point was probably Kokomo and then Fairbury when Robbie helped me at Fairbury, learning that throttle control. When I started get backing up the throttle, is when I started hurting at the big tracks because I think I back out of it too much, maybe. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, definitely bigger tracks played to my side a little bit better early on in my dirt racing career, I guess you could call it. Um, but now not so much. I'd rather run those short tracks where I got to finesse it a little bit and utilize the throttle control because I don't know. I just feel like I have a huge advantage when it comes to throttle control. But
I mean,
you ran limiteds at
Port
Port
Royal,
Royal
yeah,
and you had a blast.
I did. I had a lot of fun with it. Coach James over there. Um, I got destroyed in one of my races. Ended up finishing third. No, I got second because he wrecked out, and then I won one of them. Uh, clearing I think it was a 19-1. Looking at the top split, they were pulling 19-1, so I was pretty happy with that. I don't know, just a lot of fun. I didn't realize we ran there a couple times, but not like with the I guess confidence I have now in it than when I first started. So it's a little bit different. Like I'm excited to run dirt now, not nervous as much. So
What I was surprised because I ran a limited race there and did terrible. I guess I do as I say, not as I do. But how
right,
difficult those things were to drive down the straightaway, and you feel that a lot in the pros and the supers where it wants to move around a lot down the straightaway, especially at like a USA where you got such a long straightaway. Um,
yeah.
but those limiteds moved an awful lot down the straightaway, like those faster cars at Port Royal, and I had a real hard time grasping that and figuring out what I needed to do because it's totally backwards of what I'm used to with the big blocks.
It's funny because the race before when you were watching me, you're like, "That's not a good straight. That's not a good straight." And then you got in it, and you're like, oh, this is not as easy as it's okay." Uh, it was kind of funny to see. I
I,
mean, for
I
me, I just kind of pin it, and I don't ride the wall, but the wall is just the focal point for me, and it works. I don't know.
I I felt like the big difference was when I had you getting up into that cushion with the right rear. When you were setting the car into the turn, it seemed to carry you through the turn a lot better.
Yeah, and then you said not be afraid of the wall. That was something new to get used to as well. So I mean, just learning all around, and then definitely tonight watching them, uh, just learn little things like the throttle input. I was so amazed just the throttle. That was huge.
Did you run some sprint cars this week too? I heard maybe.
Oxran
Oh,
sprints
Ox ran sprints at Lanier, I think it was. Right, right. Yeah,
somewhere. I don't
yeah, it
remember
was
where.
Lanier. He was running. So Ox has been
Yes.
running the 305s. All right. So I didn't run a lot this week. I ran a variety, but I didn't run a whole lot this week. But we got big blocks at Lanier. I'll probably jump in a race. Lanier can be funny. I know Robbie just ran the top split
Hmm.
one. Um, Bocus digging from the back of the pack. That was impressive. Lanier can be tough because you have the beginning where everybody is really fast and you got to take advantage of the passing and attacky track. You don't want to be. You qualified second. You do not want to be. That is like the worst place to start there on a tacky track.
Yeah,
As
I just
second,
went right to third and was happy with coming out of turn two and third. I was completely happy with that, not getting shuffled on the outside. Um, I was surprised though. I was happy to see the linear that we had. It wasn't a slider line dominant track start to finish, which was really nice. We ended up chasing it up through the middle for a good portion of the track. I don't know what they adjusted or what they changed, but it definitely did feel different than it has in the past couple seasons. So um, I think it was like 20 or 18 to go ish. We got that caution, and I decided to roll the dice because I knew that the odds of me getting Conrad in the slider line were pretty low. So
yeah.
um, I remembered a couple seasons ago we used to be able to just roll the bottom through the slick, and that had worked earlier in the race too. So I was thinking maybe with the marbles gone now in the middle, maybe slider line might lose a little bit. So I rolled the dice and tried to make it work on the bottom and ended up getting passed on the outside by my teammates, which is what it is.
Well, I was
I think I
surprised. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think I could have held it if I ran slider line, but I wanted to roll the dice and try and get Conrad on the bottom there.
I think it was all Apex top seven, wasn't it?
I think we had 1 through 5.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. And then I think somebody was in six. I forget who was in six, and then maybe it was Shock Trey Shock. And then seventh place. You guys had seventh, but yeah, that was crazy. But Hunter Heck was playing. With those Ducharme sets, was running up there in the front with you guys. I mean, he put a lot of pressure on you guys until he got into the wall.
Yeah, that was a really fun race. I had a lot of fun.
Which
I like the new
go.
lines.
What surprised me was how early the bottom line came back in. Jax was, which I was
Hmm.
impressed that Jax did such a good job staying out of the way. Jax was running the bottom line and beating Conrad at times when Conrad was trying to put him a lap down. I was really impressed with how well that bottom lane worked. It forced Conrad to go to the bottom, which he picked up a lot of
Hmm.
speed when he did like 2 or 3 tenths.
Yeah,
So,
that kind of signaled everybody to go to the bottom, and we all followed suit and was down there for quite a bit of time.
and it was way earlier than it normally comes in. I mean, it
Hmm.
really doesn't come in. It was about the middle point of the race, and it was a lot of fun to watch. Biggest thing with Lanier, where I run into issues is if you get the early caution, there's a ton of glitches there. But you get some net code, and there's a lot of people who dive those corners way too hard going in.
Hmm.
Which is where we saw an early caution when Landon and Ryan Miller got together. Landon just kind of put it in there a little harder than Miller, and felt like Miller had checked up, but Miller just went in like they did in front of him, and Landon just put it in there way too hard, got together. But other than that, a lot of
Hmm.
clean racing. But through the middle of the race where it was really hard to pass, it looked like Bocus was about the only one that could.
Yeah, that was a fun race. And did you see the end there with me and Murphy? I threw bombs
Yeah,
on him,
yeah,
try
yeah.
to get him.
Murphy's definitely impressive. He's very patient. It's fun to watch him. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, you guys were racing hard for that third position, and you know, just too little, too late.
Yeah.
uh, but yeah, those slide jobs were great. I actually moved back to you guys to watch those slide jobs at the end of that one because it was better than the race for first. Focus, he was close, but I don't think he quite had enough for Conrad late.
Hmm.
So good race overall. Linear looks like it could be fun this week. We'll see if it stays that way. Supers are going to be at Cedar Lake. Cedar Lake is a fun track to watch the Supers race at.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty racy track for them. I enjoy running the bottom there.
Yeah, it's definitely a racy track, multiple lanes. That track is made for late models. I mean, more than any other car, I think. It's just so fun to watch them race there. Uh,
Agreed.
360s at Knoxville. That's a sprint car
Those are
track.
the non wings.
Oh, those are. Oh, I see that. Whew, that should be interesting. Are you planning on? I mean, I know you love Knoxville.
Yeah, and I've been enjoying running the 360 sprint car and hosted. I might mess around on the alt account and run a couple officials, just because it's Knoxville, and it'll be fun if
If it
that's if
goes
I see
official.
anybody in there.
Yeah, if it
Yeah,
goes
if it
official.
goes official. Speaking of
Mid-
that, we got 7 people in there right now.
Midgets at Fairbury.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought that was a good matchup.
that's always a fun track for those. Could be interesting and like your other favorite track, Lima Land. No, just kidding. Joking. 358s are there. I love the 358s at Lima Land. I wish it wasn't a fixed set, but I will be hitting some 358s at Lima.
That's what me and
I
Oxy
figured
was
you would.
talking
I had to
about.
throw it in there.
What's that?
So that's why I threw it in there. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
James will be
yeah.
running that.
I'll be running it. It's just so hard to pass because the cars are so even. But usually I can put a pretty good qualifying time there and be up front to have an opportunity. You just end up getting knocked around because it's so hard to pass because they don't let you do any adjustments. I really wish, and I'm going to say it again. I know we talk about it. It seems like every week, but iRacing, let us get a couple gear changes on those fix that. Just one or two each way. Let us pick what we want. I love a lot of gear.
Hmm.
I want to grab it. I want to know the gas is going to go when I get on that throttle. Um, and that's what you need. You need that little bit of. There's a few people that are running too much gear. It's too much gear for them. Um, I think it would create better racing and more lanes. More lanes of racing, and I think that's the key.
That, and if there was a little bit of adjustment, it might encourage people to hop in the session a little bit earlier and warm up just to
Yeah.
figure out what they want.
And it's still a fixed set. It's not like you got to know everything about it. You just pick the gear you're comfortable with.
Yeah, something that's going to take you 5-10 minutes to figure out what you want as far as like what gear you like or something like that.
For sure. I definitely agree with that. Um, so that's our dirt racing for this week. I'm gonna jump down the road. IMSA at Fuji. What are you thinking about? Did you run anything this week? Did you run any of your F1 races?
I didn't run any F1. I was actually running a lot of GT3, running a lot of Spa, running a lot of Mid Ohio. It was a lot of fun. Definitely looking forward to IMSA at Fuji. I remember the VRS series was there. I really enjoyed it.
I know you got a couple podiums at Mid Ohio.
Yeah, a couple podiums at Mid Ohio, a couple podiums at Spa. I think I ran 3 races at both. Just could not get hit. I got there was something that happened in every single race I did, whether it was somebody dive bombing me or just getting collected by somebody spinning across the track or losing control behind me. I don't know, just been a little frustrating in road, but keep moving on.
That is a tricky track though. Sometimes with those elevation changes there, and I think a few people struggle with their view, being able to figure out where they need to be at in those elevation changes because it just happens to be around corners and stuff. I think there's some off camber corners at Mid Ohio too, if I'm correct.
Oh yeah, those Mid Ohio was a ton of fun. That was actually a lot cleaner than Spa. Spa was more of a survival race than anything, but
Really?
Mid Ohio is where I gained a lot of my a lot of my safety rating
All right. Well,
back that I lost at Spa throughout the week.
Well,
that's
yeah, I saw that you were hurting when I jumped in and watched your one race. I think you were down under a 2 for safety.
Yeah.
So definitely struggling there. I know we all talked about legends. I don't think any of us jumped in them last week on the road course, did we? The
Nope.
legends cars,
I've
which
completely
sucked because
forgot.
I totally wanted to. I just didn't get on and run as much. It was a pretty busy week for me. Um, I did run two R04 races. I totally struggled though. That was a rough one. I had a hard time making a lap
Brands Hatch is
even
not an
track.
easy not an easy track. It's fast and it's narrow.
Yeah, and I just struggled. I just got loose. Got the grass a few times. I sent you guys the one save through the grass. Um, and I incident pointed out of one on the last lap, first corner. I didn't qualify. I started last, going to turn one, and I don't even go when they all go. I just kind of wait and then roll in, and they're still bouncing off each other. Somebody just spinning themselves around, throwing right rears to get back forward. That was a rough one. I felt like I was in like 358 bottom splits. That's what I felt like.
Damn.
Honestly, people weren't giving anything. They were just letting it hang out, and that hurt me. I made quite a few mistakes, though. I kept it out of the wall, though. I will say that. Amazingly, I just got some lost control and sideways, and then 4x immediately at the beginning of the race. So I ended up
Oh,
getting
well,
it
you
zip
can get your
pointed out.
redemption at Spa.
Oh, I'm definitely running some Spa and R04s. I run well there. I love that track. It's just so fun to
Probably
Yeah.
join you.
but the problem is, what you saw last week, is everybody likes to run Spa, and you got to be careful and
Hmm.
protect that safety rating at some point.
Yeah.
IMSA at Fuji. Any plans on running that, Robbie?
Oh, I'm gonna hammer that. I'll probably run 3 or 4 of those races at least. I love that track. I think it's super technical and pretty difficult and seems to throw a lot of drivers off because of how weird the line is.
Yeah.
So I'll
What
be
car?
trying to get some more I rating.
What car do you think you're gonna run?
Mercedes. It's been overpowered every single week at every single track.
Um, so those LMPs, though, they're gonna have a huge advantage down that huge straightaway. They're gonna
Hmm.
come running up on you guys real quick. Do you think that's gonna create an issue going into turn number one if they catch the
Um,
slower cars?
yeah, that could definitely be sketchy for sure. Um, that will be sketchy, I should say.
Yeah,
um,
because there's
but
gonna
hey, a
be a
long
major,
straight, long,
there's major
lo-
speed
long,
difference.
yeah, long straight. It'll give them a lot of opportunity to get past us though. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of late dive bombers in turn one.
I got a feeling it's gonna be a lot like Formula One cars versus Formula V's at Atlanta. If you guys didn't catch Wide Open Wednesday, go check out the video. We did F1 cars and Formula V's on the oval, the brand new oval at Atlanta. It was a blast. Roger, you had some fun. You might have
I
died,
did,
but
yeah. No,
but
I didn't. No, I didn't die. No, we killed some. I killed some people, but I didn't die. Uh,
but we shut off the damage because we knew it was going to be crazy. But it was a lot of fun to watch. The speed difference, it was about 110 mile per hour difference between top speed
uh,
of
top
the
speed,
Formula One and
top speed in draft was about 212
yeah,
in draft. So,
and it was wide open. I mean, those cars just stuck,
yeah.
and it made the Formula V's look so slow. You guys would come out of the corner and split in a pack of V's racing through the middle of the track. And you know what? Everybody did a pretty good job for the most part, so that was a lot of fun to watch. But I gotta imagine that's what the LMPs versus those GT3. It's the GT3 cars in the IMSA class, right?
Yes.
Essentially, yeah. It's gonna look like when those cars, and with so much more grip going into the corner, it's gonna be chaos if they come up on a pack of those GT3 cars and to turn one. They're gonna have to navigate, and Robbie knows all too well about getting killed by those cars.
Yeah, it might have to be the LMP car this week.
um, so Cup and Xfinity at the newly scanned Indy Road Course. They updated Indy today, and they got the new scanned road course. I know. I know that Roger was just out there practicing. Are you gonna do some Indy Road Course, Robbie?
I don't know. I'll practice it, and I'm just basing my prejudged opinions off the old Indy road course, so maybe I'm being a
Yeah.
little bit too negative.
I,
But the
I,
old Indy road course is pretty flat, pretty boring. Um, it all kind of looks the same. I don't really like it.
I mean, I'll tell you flat out. I ran, I think, 3 laps, and I had no grip at all.
Yeah, it's pretty flat.
It's so flat. I mean, I watched a couple clips today of it. I was excited. I like the course. I like the track. I was like, all right, yeah, cool. I probably made it into 3 out of the pits, and it was just sliding already. I'm like, well, this is gonna suck. So, uh,
I'll be honest with you. Robbie's opinion doesn't surprise me much. He's never really been a big fan of those oval road course combos. I know
Yeah,
Daytona's definitely one of your least favorites. I think we had that discussion.
yeah, I do. I hate the Daytona road course. I think it's super boring. Um,
really,
same. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Charlotte Roval either. I think it's terrible.
oh, I love the elevation change at the Roval. That's what I think I like about it.
Yeah, it does seem
I just
extreme packed into a small track, really. But yeah, I get it's just
it,
not road
the root
racing.
of the root of the problem for me comes down to I don't like any track where I can pull 0.6 of a second on somebody through a technical portion of the track, and then they're right back on my bumper and actually have a run on me to pass me at the end of a long straight, or in this case, around a road when you're doing the big turn and then back to the back chicane. I
I'm
don't know.
really
I
glad you and
hate
I don't
draft
race each other,
racing.
and
Yeah,
because you
Robbie doesn't
hate
like the
me.
lot. Robbie doesn't like the lotto.
Yeah, I hate the
He-
lottery. I like skill. I like the better driver to win. I don't want somebody to be able to, like I said, I don't want to pull 0.6 on somebody through the part of the track that takes skill just to have them get it all back on me for doing nothing other than just following me in a straight line.
I get that.
so Porsche at Silverstone. I know you've been excited about running Silverstone before. Are you going to run any Porsche? We know our
Yeah, I think
boy
I'll
Nick
give it
will
a
be.
try.
You better get in there with Nick because he loves to run the Porsche cars. I'm sure he'll be
I
running
bet
some
the
Silverstone this week.
No,
Yeah, I bet the S's with that car with that heavy rear end will be a lot of fun. And
I
VRS
don't.
has the sand down, which I'll definitely be doing at least a couple of those.
What about the F1? Are you looking forward to F1 this week?
Yeah, I think Hungaroring's a fun track. If it gets
Oh,
good participation, I'll definitely run a Hungaroring, but I haven't been seeing the F1 participation that I want. So, kind of been taking
Well,
a couple weeks
maybe
off.
you'll have to jump in the Miatas because you got them down there. The C-Class Miatas are there too.
Yeah, I actually enjoy running those. I might do that. Might mix it up. I haven't done those in a while, and I think the C class could be fun. Open setup.
Dirt Road got Rally at Sonoma, Pro 2s at Daytona. Nothing really too exciting.
Yeah, nothing much going on in dirt road.
Speaking of Dirt Road, uh, I had it up here. Let me pull it back up. Heaton still running hard. He got a victory this week. Alex Bergeron did much better in the Pro Twos or Pro Tours, taking a victory in one of his races too. This is a race. I mean, that second race, Keaton and Connor both finished 1-2 half a second. Alex dominated the first one by 3.2 seconds. But this points battle is looking. I mean, Josh Edmondson's creeping in, but he's still about 50 something points back. But Keaton and Connor Berry only 3 points apart for that championship battle. I mean, this is a wild battle up at the front, and Keaton's doing it by the most consistency up front. I mean, Keaton's just there every single race. So that's still getting interesting, and it's keeping it close enough where I mean, you got to be excited about what could happen there in that championship. I mean, either one of those two guys could take the win, and Connor's a young kid, Connor Berry, and he runs pro trucks in real life too.
Oh, that's cool.
So he actually took a win in the Pro 2 series for AMX this week. So he had a victory in those, but he's a lot of fun. That is live here every Tuesday night. If you guys want to check that out, they do the Pro 2 Light fixed and the Pro 2 Light or the Pro 2 fixed on Tuesday nights starting at 9 o'clock. I think I gotta double check, but it would be somewhere around there. So that's always interesting too. So make sure you guys check that out. So we'll talk about some oval racing. We got Indy cars at Indy. So
Yeah, I think that'll be fun.
you know
yeah, yeah.
they're made for the track, so it
Yeah.
ought to be a little bit of fun. I remember week 13. We had a ton of fun though in the Lotus 49 at Indy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, that
think
was super fun.
I think that's more fun than running the actual Indy cars there.
Oh yeah, I would argue that with anybody. Absolutely.
Trucks at Lucas Oil. They're the only NASCAR series on an oval. I like Lucas Oil. I think that's a fun track to run. I'll probably run a few of those.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, I don't know. Safety rating, bye bye. I don't know.
well, I ran some clean races there last season and had a lot of fun. I think, it's just going to be a lot of strategy with the trucks at Lucas Oil. You got to take care of those tires. but I think if you qualify up front, you stay up front, you're going to be okay. Um, Usually it's not too bad of racing. It gets a little crazy in the back because people get desperate, but
Hmm.
not too bad of a series. Um, Street stocks at Atlanta Legend Oval. You won't see me there. I wish they'd put them on the real oval.
You're right. I would. I told Ox. I said I'd sleep in the track. I'd be there every race. I give me a whole day.
um, 87s. We ran some Myrtle Beach. I ran some Myrtle Beach. I was convincing enough that Robbie ran some Myrtle Beach. I
Hmm.
didn't win one, but I had a lot of fun. I got taken out in one that I had and a good one. I mean, I was so mad. I was running fourth. I really feel like I was a top. I feel like I had an opportunity to win that one, but definitely a top three car. I get taken out by Davey Davis. Definitely, he lost it and overcorrected and just absolutely demolished me. You guys both seen it. Um, but I enjoyed Myrtle Beach as a driving track. I just didn't enjoy some of the incidents there and a lot of pacing.
Yeah, I ran 3 races there and had a lot of fun and had a lot of luck. Actually, 3 podiums, 1 win. Um, 2 races that I didn't win were actually not bad. A lot of cautions, but it was all in the back, so it wasn't really that bad. The one I won, that was the bloody one where all the mess was up front, and I just got lucky enough to survive and save the tires just enough to be in a position to win.
I'll tell you what, I think a lot of people just felt like they had to overdrive it, and the biggest mistake was going in too hard. Um, I was going in real soft. I was letting off probably just after the start finish line going into turn one.
Yeah.
And you
Hmm.
just got to kind of let it roll through and then roll back into the throttle about halfway through. But I thought it was a great track to drive. It felt good. It was fun. I mean, it just was. I felt like if you could get out there and run laps, it was just a relaxing drive, even for a short track.
Yeah, I
See,
thought it was a ton of fun.
I wish I would have gave it another chance because I test drove it when I was indulging in some adult beverages, and it was pretty late, and I was just test driving it, and I just couldn't. I didn't mind it, but I was like, I don't know if I could race this. I watched James a little bit do it, but
It
I
was
love the 87s, and it was just I should have gave it another shot. I didn't run it.
honestly, I felt like it was way better than the street stocks with way more power. The street stocks were like being on ice, and these things just kind of, if you were smart with it, just kind of rolled in and was fast. You just
Yeah.
couldn't try. I think the biggest problem is you felt like you should be going faster, and people would overdrive it,
Yeah,
and and,
absolutely.
and that was the bigger issue. And then you had people that underdrove it, which created issues too. Which is what got me in my second race. There was just a few people just underdriving it. Um,
Oh.
Well, Roger, you'll enjoy the 87s this week at Talladega.
Oh.
yeah,
So I know I'm kind of new to this with you, Robbie, but I love supers on old cars, right? Uh, I love the way they drive. I love the way they feel. I love the looseness of them. I will be there a ton. One of my first races in officials was a super in an 87. So I I love them.
again, I probably struggle a little bit on those big tracks and those type of cars that you have to drive because I don't want to run it as hard as you actually have to. But I do love one thing I do love about the 87s is they kind of feel like dirt cars, especially the modifieds, because you're kind of sitting on that right rear. I,
Hmm.
See,
and
this
I
is where
did,
I get
and
to
I do,
teach you.
and I do really well at tracks like Michigan. Had a blast at Auto Club, um, and I do good on the short tracks there. I just think that I'm scared I'm pushing it too hard on those restrictor plate super speedway type tracks, and it hurts me.
So this is where I get to teach you, though. You've taught me all about dirt. Now we get to go to Dega, and I get to
You're
be over
listening to the
here.
wrong person if you're listening to me for dirt. Just ask them in the chat. No, I'm
Hey,
just kidding.
you got me a win. Hey, I mean, you helped me on asphalt, helped me on dirt. Nothing happened.
Look, they make a joke, and I joke around about it with broadcasting too. But they say those who can't teach, um, teach instead of doing. So maybe that's my calling. And I do enjoy doing that and helping some people. Um, I did get a request this week, and maybe it's something we can look into further down the road talking more about setups and equipment people should have. Chris, Chris got talking about with the city of Fulton. He got talking about we should talk about because he was buying the Fanatec stuff. We should talk about the equipment and maybe some of the pros and cons. Now he told me to compare the Logitech with the Fanatec, but I said that's like comparing, a Corvette to
A Mustang.
I actually went from a
no,
Logitech.
no, that would be a close comparison. I
The
would
Ford
say that,
Focus.
I think that might have been what I used was a Focus or an Escort. Actually, might have been what I used. They make the GT version of an Escort. It was fun to drive, but it's not a Corvette, and that would be the difference between Logitech and Fanatec. But at some point, we should
I
talk
went from
about
that
those.
switch. That's my switch. I went from a Logitech to a Fanatec.
Yeah,
Um,
but there are other choices other than
the
Fanatec
Sim
out
Cube,
there.
yeah, the Sim Cube, everything like that. I do want to say something though. Do you remember how I was telling Tony about like how like free my wheel felt and everything like that?
Yeah.
So Fanatec didn't push the update, but there was a driver update, so I was 2 updates behind.
Well, here's the big problem with and I know Robbie knows about it, and I didn't listen to him this week, but iRacing Lounge hits on it a lot. Um, Fanatec had issues with their updates, and it bricked some of their wheels because they didn't have good directions with the update or whatever it was. Robbie, you remember this conversation?
Hmm.
Uh, so maybe that was why there wasn't the big push um, to get people to update it. But yeah, it's hard to find those updates for Fanatec.
Oh
And
yeah, I
this
had to
they
dig.
say
I had to dig deep to get the download for the driver.
that
It works a lot better now, but
they say it on the iRacers Lounge, and they're 100% right. Fanatec, thank God they make such a good product, high quality product because their customer service sucks. Um, I
Yeah.
mean,
Did
they
did
did a great job with me with when I was talking to them about the pedals, but they were gonna warranty it, but they wanted me to send the pedals out when I had the issue where my board went out, but it took 3 days between each message to get a message back, and I said it took 3 days to get the first message. I said, look, I know what's wrong with it. I would rather just pay the $50 for the part, have you send it to me and get it done rather than go back and forth for another week or two to send it out for a week or two to get fixed. And that's what I ended up doing.
mhm. Did you
But
hear the story that iRacers Lounge said about Fanatec?
yeah, where they got sued.
Yeah,
Uh
a guy had one of his. I believe it was a DD1 wheelbase, so very expensive base. I think $1,200. Probably even more when at the time he bought it. It got bricked during the update, and so Fanatec sent him a new one, and that new one ended up being a lemon as well when he updated the firmware for that. And then Fanatec said, well, because you didn't pay for that one, we don't have to replace it.
yeah.
So he ended up taking them to court, and he won.
Yeah, no, and probably should have. I mean, I get like they swapped it out
Absolutely.
for free, but you still bought the product, and you're talking about a lot of money. Um,
yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't get any use out of the wheelbase that they gave him. It was just an immediate lemon. So it's like, did they even really replace it?
yeah, and that's definitely an issue. And the biggest problem we have right now with Fanatec is, in order to compare anything to the new direct drive, you're going to belt driven. So I guess the biggest thing would be
Hmm.
to compare a belt driven with that one, see if there's something that might be equivalent in the price range, because you can look at SimCube and some of the other ones, but none of them are at that price point. You can't go buy them for 500-600 bucks. You're double
Hmm.
the price. You're $1,000-$1,200 for anything else direct driven, and that's the biggest problem. I mean, Fanatec has the market cornered, and people are just going to deal with the shitty customer service because they almost have to get something that's affordable. I mean, we spent a lot of money to start with, and on our, I mean, I got a $2,000 computer, a $400 pedal set. Yes, I got my Logitech wheelbase because I don't have the $600, $700, $800 to get a full wheel set right now.
Hmm.
And so that is an issue.
I
Fanatec's
think the
got the market cornered.
Yeah, I think the main leg up they have over the competition is their entire ecosystem of wheels. That's exactly why I bought into it. I know the price range scares a lot of people off, but I was able to get the CSL DD. I did have to wait for it quite a few months, but it was worth the wait. Had a couple issues, updates fixed it, so that seemed to be good.
Well,
But yeah, I got into it for the ecosystem because eventually I want to get a McLaren wheel, and I'm sorry, but as much as I think SimuCube makes a nice product, I don't. I would much rather have a McLaren licensed McLaren wheel that looks really cool, looks just like the real car does, the real steering wheel of the car does, versus something that just has a SimuCube logo and it's just shaped like a road wheel.
yeah,
You know?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
let's not miss the fact that it's still double the price to go to SimCube.
Yeah.
I
And
Yeah.
mean, I mean that's a huge thing. Even right now, they have no CSLDDs at Fanatec,
Hmm.
but they have the GT. It's $100 more. Still worth it.
that's what I have. I have
Uh,
the GT Pro with the boost back.
yeah, it comes with a boost pack. It's $600. It's $100 more than what you would buy the other one with the boost pack. I think it does come with some buttons though. Um,
Uh, it's a little bit more than 600, but yeah, it's a
no,
little bit
no,
pricier than the.
it's 600 now, right now.
Oh well.
But it's
I should.
just the wheel. It doesn't come with the pedals and stuff.
Oh yeah,
You
I
you
think
you
that's.
got you got the one that was almost $1,000 or whatever with the
What is it you're
pedal.
saying? It's just the base, or does it come with a?
It's just the base. So
Okay,
Yeah, I got
I
the.
just wanted to
I
make
don't
sure.
use the. I
it's
use a
six
different
hundred.
pedal set, but yeah.
It's $600 for the base, just like you would go get the 350 base, but then you pay the
Hmm.
other 150 for the booster to get it to the eight.
Hmm.
It
Yep.
just comes with the booster, and I think it comes with a PlayStation button set too.
Oh
Um,
yeah, the
Hmm.
Gran Turismo. Yep,
yeah.
Gran Turismo wheel, which do not recommend. Yes.
So I mean, it does come with some. It's $100 more than what you would be spending the other way, but they did separate it. You don't have to get the pedal and all that. It doesn't come in the big bundle anymore.
And
Uh,
But
if
for the
you're
hundred
getting,
dollars more, I mean, you think about it, it's brilliant. $100 more, who's not going to pay it? The other one, you're waiting
hmm
for however long. I'd just pay the extra $100, get it now.
and then the one thing
absolutely.
is the belt driven wheel. The most expensive belt driven wheel right now is the Thrustmaster TSP Racer. It's $700 on Amazon right now. I'm looking.
Yeah. So, and that's the closest thing you're going to get in the price range of that direct drive.
Yep, and it's. I've had Thrustmaster. I've had Logitech, and I probably won't ever go back. It's just. I just
Well, so Thrustmaster has some good reviews on their belt driven.
yeah.
Um, but now you're talking direct drive and belt driven. Yeah.
Well, and
Um,
now we're not. We haven't even talked about. Well, like I said, this could be a whole topic, but the Thrustmaster direct drive that's coming out.
yeah. We'll have to see when it comes out. I still don't know. I guess we'll have to compare it. Maybe I'll have to get it and we'll have to set it side by side with Robbie's because I'm not driving to Roger. Um,
Fair
Also,
enough.
if you're getting into the Fanatec ecosystem, I recommended to Chris because he wanted to get the NASCAR wheel, and I said, no, 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 you don't want that wheel because when you think about it, there's absolutely no buttons to map on that thing. It's terrible. It's a
yeah.
great shaped wheel, but there's nothing to map on it.
But you
Um,
So
can
if
get
you're
the.
getting
You can get
if
the
if you're getting
set.
it if you're getting
Sorry.
into the Fanatec ecosystem, check out the Club Sport RS. It's the wheel I ended up going with. It's completely round, so feel wise, it's gonna be just like the NASCAR rim, but you have a ton of options as far as what you can map, as far as buttons. You got a nice gear indicator and shift LEDs. So
the biggest thing, this is the biggest thing, and we've talked about it, and Roger said, hey, we should bring him on. This is where we need Garrett Maines. Garrett knows what size wheel you should get because I forget, he told me at one point. Garrett Maines builds, I think he still builds the sim rigs. Does he,
He
Roger?
works at
Yeah,
yeah
yeah,
Sim
yeah,
where
exactly.
the Sim seats in
Yep,
Virginia.
yep.
Yep.
So, and I've had a lot of conversations, which, by the way, he won the money race that I broadcasted yesterday.
Mm.
Um, You got a father son one too. Jason was second. Uh, no surprise there, but yeah. So he would definitely be one. He knows his stuff. One of these days we should get him on here. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, we
Um,
could do
and,
a whole
and,
episode on
and,
this. Like,
and he'd be happy to come in and jump in on this stuff, um, and talk about the sim rigs and stuff like that too, and iRacing as a whole, because he's good on everything he runs.
yeah, he is.
Um,
No doubt.
so I sent out a video today, and I think Robbie said he was about to, and then saw that I posted it. I'm assuming that's what you were saying, but grass dipping. And I didn't even know this was a thing, but it makes a lot of sense. Dave Cam put out a video talking about grass dipping. Now, if you don't know what grass dipping is, which I had no clue what it was, it's essentially running the car and taking the 1X or whatever. And a lot of times you don't even get a 1X,
I
but
say
it's,
apparently they're not even getting 0 or 1 access for this.
yeah. And they're able to put it off to the grass and cool the tires. And you and I have talked about tire temps a lot in the dirt side. Keeping that right rear. You and I, we see a lot of people that qualify. They're just running right out of the pits as hard as they can in dirt. You and I, we're
Hmm.
easing it in, just cruising along until we get to turn 3, and then we're starting to get on it out of 4, and keeping that right rear as cool as possible because those tire temps play such a huge role in every series. Now with grass dipping, these guys are essentially getting new tires, other than a little bit of wear, but by correcting that tire temps, because it cools it off so much putting it in the grass, that they have a whole bunch of grip going into these corners, and they're
Hmm.
setting them off. I encourage you to go check out Dave Cam's video on grass dipping, but he said he ran the 24 hours of Spa, and or watched it, and these guys, the pro guys, were grass dipping, and it's against the sporting code.
Yeah, he put it perfectly in that video. It's just a complete embarrassment that those guys were doing that. And it wasn't just like a couple. It was, I think that he said like the top like 12 finishers all did it.
well,
Something absolutely absurd.
well, you kind of get put in a box. It's kind of like wall tapping on dirt. I mean, we
Yeah.
all think it shouldn't be so prevalent, but people are riding the wall. It's faster. I mean, could we protest? I think essentially, if somebody was riding the wall, we could protest it. But I mean, then we get in the sportsman side of it. But then you get stuck having to do it if you want any opportunity for a chance for a win, and that's what these guys grass tipping are doing. They have no choice if
Mhm.
they want to win. And
Yeah.
it's one of those fine line things. And Roger and I were talking about it. I mean, maybe what do you think iRacing is going to have to do? Are they going to have to create another zone? And if you're in that zone for, depending on what section of the track it is, for a certain distance or a certain amount of time, you get a slowdown penalty or something? Is that what they're going to have to do to fix it?
I don't know how they're gonna fix
They,
this,
they,
but
they can't police it because they can't have somebody watching every single race. And
yeah.
and honestly, nobody's wanting to protest over it. It's a lot of work to go and protest it. So, I mean, you almost think that they have to govern it maybe with some sectors, kind of like Roger was putting it.
Or maybe they do it where if you have like honestly I see the only way they fix it is unfortunately because I feel like they just loosened up the standards. I think they're going to stricten up what an off track is, which is
Well,
unfortunate because I don't want a little slip up where my tire like barely hits the grass to count as an off track every single time, but it might end up having to be like that if these guys are going to continue to exploit that.
yeah, it's a fine line, and that's why I'm thinking almost creating a different layer to it, and timing it or distancing it where they can keep that buffer for where it's not an off track, but they have this penalty if you're riding there. But that's a lot of work. That's a lot of programming they'd have to do, and there'd probably be some glitches in it.
For sure.
For sure.
But grass tipping is definitely something to watch out for. I mean, I think the only way to fix it without having iRacing fix it is if we police it ourselves and protest it. But I mean, who's going to want to admit they're doing that? you know, you know
Hmm.
that's another
Yeah,
issue.
yeah.
I mean, it's not as big a deal in road, but if you're the protest queen, as We've heard some people get into the just protesting everybody all the time on dirt. Man, you gain quite the reputation, and it makes life a lot harder for you. I mean, dirt's not prevalent for protesting. Usually, it's kind of handled on track and other ways, um, but I mean, that might be the only way to fix it without iRacing creating those, having to take away what they gave us with more room for the off tracks and not taking it back or creating something else. I mean, it's going to have to be done within the community and report is about the only way it's going to change. If somebody knows that they do it, they're going to get reported. They'll stop doing it because it is unsportsman. It's against the sporting code and it's clearly written. But I got thinking about that grass dipping. Essentially, I do that at USA in a street stock, especially where I cut that grass, and it almost seems like I have a little bit more grip because it's probably cooling down the tires there, and you don't even get a 1X because it's dirt. Can you guys hear me?
Agree.
I'm
I can't.
thinking now that you're saying USA. When you said USA, and you said I'm thinking about yeah. We
I
did. We
mean,
ran a couple laps. We ran more than a couple laps, but we ran. Yeah, I can see
I'm
that.
wondering if that grass was giving me an advantage by cutting it. I wasn't cutting it necessarily on purpose. I was cutting it because you kind of let the car roll where it wants to, and the grass doesn't hurt you. So if I got the grass, I
Hmm.
didn't care.
Hmm.
I'm wondering if there's the same effect on dirt with the grass cooling off the tires. Be interesting to know. But yeah, grass dipping is a thing, and I didn't know it. um,
Yeah, neither did I. So.
Earlier this week, I saw a post, and I shared it, and it's somebody that had 16 wins, and the guy beating him in points, and we're talking Division 10, so there's a lot of factors that may be playing a role here. Um, but he had 16 wins and was second in points in his class, and we got talking about that, and a lot of people still don't understand the points system with how you get more points for an SOF division.
Hmm.
At the beginning of the season, you get put in a division, whatever division that is, especially when you're in those lower divisions like 10. And if somebody's gaining, like we'll say the guy in front of them and him, let's say the guy that won 16 races is winning a race but crashing out of two. His I rating isn't getting any better because he keeps losing on those crashes. So he keeps ending up in those low strength of fields, which don't pay a lot of points. Now, that guy in first might be finishing top five every time, not taking any wins, but he's
Hmm.
gaining every single race, keeping it clean, finishing in the top five, and his I rating is going up, and he's getting in higher strength of fields, while that guy's still in the lower strength of fields, and he's killing it on points.
Yep, that's exactly how that's going. And to clarify, that post was why am I not winning? Because the leader had 0 wins, and that guy had 16. So, yeah, if you didn't know, it's all based on strength of field, which strength of field is determined by the average I rating of the people in the race you're in, and based on how good that strength of field is, going to determine how much championship points you get. Obviously depending on which position you finish in too.
And Robbie, you are great at working those SOF fields. I mean, you might
Yeah, I
not
am.
you might not bust out. I always joke around and call you Mark Martin, Mister Second. Um, you guys probably aren't old enough to remember Mister Second's the part store, but no, you're Mister Second. You finish second a lot, but you always do well in points because you're always in strong strength of fields. It's just closing off the deal, but you don't have to win the big prize. I mean, we've seen that so many times um, where it's not always the driver with the most wins. It's the driver with the most consistency that ends up doing the best in the points.
Hmm.
And it's
Yeah.
important to remember that. It's important to remember, and it helps you with your safety. It helps you with your I rating. It's important to remember to finish up in the front part of the pack. That is what's going to pay off points, and I rating and safety.
Hmm.
So I mean that's the biggest thing. A lot of I mean you see a lot of guys with a lot of big wins, and I'm just as toxic as the rest of them. Sometimes they come in, you get this guy who busted into top split one time, and he wants to talk about how he's got 250 wins and you got 37, or however many wins you have. And my comment is, I'd love to be in bottom split because I would win every race too. But I've never been that bottom split guy. I've never. I moved up, and I've been in that top split. And I'm not good enough to win the race, but I'm good enough to finish well and consistently in the race, and that has helped my I rating, and that's why I'm where I'm at without a ton of wins.
Hmm.
Where same with you, I don't think you have the amount of wins a lot of people with the same I rating have.
Oh, absolutely not. If you looked at the amount of wins I have, you'd probably laugh.
Yeah.
I don't even think I have 100. I mean, yeah, if you count my alt account, I have more than 100 dirt wins, but I don't even think I have more than 100 dirt wins on my main account.
Hold on. I'm gonna look.
But I got a great top five percentage.
Yeah, well, and that's what I look at when I look at another driver. I look at their incident points and their top fives. To me, those are always the most important. You have 78. Okay, so you got 143 dirt wins. This is your career. 71 dirt oval, which you have more road wins and oval wins. 78 road and 85 oval.
Yeah, my
But
lowest amount of wins is dirt oval.
but your top five, we're not even gonna count dirt road because dirt road a lot of times you get in with six people.
Yeah.
Um, but dirt oval, your dirt oval top five percentage, lifetime percentage is 70%. 70% of the time you finish in the top five. Um, and that's what you're at right now. You're 69.23 for this season. Let's see. Last season you were at 78.26 for percentage of top fives and dirt oval. And I mean that pays.
Hmm.
You are a 73-12 in dirt oval, and people would think you'd have hundreds, if not 1,000 wins, but you don't. But you
Hmm.
finish every single race, and you finish it. You
I've
finish
always,
it 70% of the time in the top five.
and a lot of things. I mean, I would. A lot of people would say this is padding the stats, but I don't really think this is padding the stats because it's just being smart about when you run. Um, I didn't I don't when I was building my I rating, I didn't run when it was a 2100 strength of field because it's just not worth the risk. If I win that race as somebody who's 6500, I'm only getting like 20 I rating.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even worth it because if I lose 150. So a lot of the factor of why I don't really have a ton of wins is I always run against the absolute best guys. I don't show up to small strength of fields. I always show up to the highest strength of field races I can to get that I rating.
There's mixed reviews on that though. If you look at the guys that have the highest I rating, they're that people talk about how they take those soft fields. I mean, you never see Chris McGuire in a top split big block race. He's always on at 2 o'clock at night when it's a single split.
Hmm.
But you do it on the oval side. Those guys are running street stocks, legends, and super lates. They're not running NASCAR to get to their I
Hmm.
rating. They're not running top 5,000, 6,000 strength of fields. So in reality, you're probably for where you finish. You could say it was kind of cake in the system because you're going to finish top five and you're going to gain every single race. But you're really not because these guys are taking, and this is why they're getting to those huge win numbers. They're taking these single split races and they're dominating them and winning every one of them. And that's how
Hmm.
they're getting those big I ratings. It's not necessarily doing what you're doing. If they did what you did, they might not be as successful. I mean, try and get in a top split NASCAR race. You got some tough competition there. It's not easy finishing in those top splits up towards the front, and it's a lot more work to earn that I rating. Yes, you get a little bit more when you finish well, but you have to work a lot harder for it.
Yeah.
So
You
so
do.
sometimes it's easier for them to take the 2030 I rating for finishing first in a single split. That might be a 2300 strength of field.
It's a different story when you got to go beat Ryan Conrad or Colin Bocus or Tyler Ducharme. You know.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I was surprised not to see Tyler today in that race. But yeah, so I mean, remember there's a lot of factors. If you're sitting there looking where you're at in points, there's a lot of factors. It's when you're running, what you're running. That's why it's really important to pick that one series you want to chase, because you want to make sure you hit that strength of field race for your series so you can run well in your points. If there's a series you want to run well in points, you need to pick that series and you need to run that first race of the week. There's just no way
Yeah.
around it. If you want a real chance of winning your division, I guess if you're in the lower half, the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 division, you might not need to be as strict about that. But if you're up in first, second, or third division, you have to run those strength of field races,
Hmm.
or you don't have any chance of winning the championship for your division. So I mean, and that might be part of the reason why I never finished better and the points in big blocks, because I'm too busy broadcasting the race I should be running.
Yeah, no, that actually really does play a factor in it. It's not easy to make up those points when you're not running that big race. I mean, something like a third place finish in top split might equal a win down in, I don't know, like a 3,500 strength field.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll tell you what, those big block strength of field races have been pretty high lately for the top for
Hmm.
the SOF race. So this week was a 54:33, I remember, I think. So that was
Hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, almost had that second. Almost blew it.
So
Well, I actually got so yeah, I finished fourth in one of my top split races at Pocono, and I gained 87 I rating.
but
So
I did message Hayden. He didn't see any of my
it's a thing.
messages. I did message Hayden. He didn't see any of my messages, so I guess he's not going to come hang out with us tonight and talk about his win. But maybe we can get whoever wins the late model race next week. I know late start. I know you guys got things to do. It's 11:30. Let's go ahead and finish it off with some final thoughts. Robbie, what are you looking forward to racing the most this week?
I'll probably rip a lot of linear, big blocks. That's one of my stronger tracks, and when Ryan Conrad's not out there, I think I could win. Um,
You got to
other
stay
than
away
that,
from Bocus. Bocus is really good at linear.
yeah,
Really
but
good
I
at
don't have
linear.
to worry about him
Not
showing
not
up for
not
officials.
not as good as he is at Eldora, but he is really good at linear.
Yeah, he is definitely good at linear. Other than that, I'll probably be running a lot of road. Gonna be running Sandown. Gonna be running Fuji for sure.
What
Um,
what's the one race that you would normally consider one series that you're gonna avoid this week?
hmm, good question. Like you're saying, like, what's the series I wouldn't normally run, but they're at a track that I
No,
would
no,
want to run?
no. What's a series that you would normally consider running that you are definitely gonna avoid this week? Probably the 87s.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. That's my choice right there. Yep. Talladega. Forget lottery racing. No, thank you.
See, I could almost just do it here and you guys agree, because I hang
Yeah.
out
You,
with you
you just
enough. I know
tell me.
what you already like and
Oh
don't
yeah.
like. Roger, what about you? What are you looking forward to this week?
Well, I'm gonna run some truck races. Um, I did pretty well last week with my champ points, so run a few of those late night style 87s. Ox told me avoid weed sport. Um,
Oh, you don't want to
he just
avoid
got it.
Weed Sport. I'll
He
run
just
Weed
got an
Sport with you.
8x. He got an 8x on the first lap. Um,
Are sprint cars
so
there?
No, limited lates.
limiteds. We
Uh.
run limited. We run limiteds.
The biggest problem with the limited lates at Weedsport is they're too tight.
Oh, Arca's at Nashville. I might run. I really like the fairgrounds. That's a fun one.
Yeah, I know that's
Uh,
one of your favorite tracks, and you love a Arca series.
I do love the Arca series. I love how loose they are. Um, I'm gonna run a lot of dirt. I love their C classes at Port Royal. I'll be there for that. Yeah, it's gonna be a mix between some asphalt and dirt for me. 87s, of course. I'll run a lot of Dega, and I'll learn the trucks at Lucas.
Well, you can't make an opinion on Weedsport yet because you haven't run it. So, uh, other than Weedsport, what's the one series you're probably going to avoid that you would normally run?
Well, while
Um,
you think about that, I'll say a little sleeper series. The production sim lab. What is it? Yeah, production sim lab challenge. At Watkins Glen. So if I can find a populated race with Volkswagen Jettas, I will be doing that.
Yeah, and you got the sprint cars at Lucas Oil this week. I don't know if you're going to
Yeah,
run that one.
that's a good track for
I know
them.
you enjoyed that track.
But I would love to rip 105 horsepower Volkswagen Jetta around Watkins Glen in a pack. That'd be fun.
Right.
I'm gonna
Uh,
say the
I want
Xfinity series.
yeah, I figured you would pick something over there at Indy. I know you
I
did some
can't. Yeah,
practice and you were
I
struggling.
wasn't a fan of it. Probably the Xfinity. I won't run. Um, I'll probably just be in trucks.
I don't know if we talked about it on the broadcast or pre, but I think we both agreed that that Indy road course is very flat and boring.
For sure. Um,
It's, so
so for me, I'll probably run a couple of the races. I'll probably run some Weedsport Limiteds just because it's Weedsport. It's kind of hard not to go home. C class street stocks on dirt are at Port Royal. That'd be interesting to watch. Um,
I'm running.
I'll run some big blocks and I'll run some IR04s. The one thing probably I don't normally run a lot of NASCAR, but I'll definitely avoid Indy. Um, and I don't know if I want to
I'll do it
run
once
any.
just to complain about
Yeah,
it.
I don't know if I'll run any of the touring mods this week. They're at what, the Smyrna.
New
Um,
Smyrna or whatever that is. Yeah, it's an
yeah,
okay track.
however you say it. I don't know if I'll run that this week.
Better options.
Um, but I'll definitely be avoiding the road course here and the at Indy. I just not too excited about that. Um,
Dakar Brazils are at Watkins Glen.
you
If
know
there's
I'll be
anybody out there that owns it, go run it, please.
I'll be running 358s at Lima. Um, so I'll be running that. But other than that, I don't see anything I'm gonna absolutely avoid.
Hey, you can run Volusia.
I probably won't run Silverstone in the Porsche. That'd probably be the one I'll avoid. And I've been trying to put in a Porsche race every week.
You can get a Volusia race in if you're willing to try 410 non-wing sprints.
I don't
Got
even
four
own it.
people in there right now.
I
They're
don't
so
even
much
own
fun.
it.
I think they're a ton of fun. Way harder to drive than any other dirt car for sure, but they're fun.
But the Ferrari you wanted me to buy is at Road America this week.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. Wait, no, they're not.
The
Are they?
GT3. Yeah.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, D class. Yes.
So I guess that's gonna be it for the stream, guys. We'll go off and do our racing or whatever else it's gonna be, and